fuck was wrong with me, you crazy little kid? You didn't, but what else was I going to do, And so, yeah, that's me.
Jeez. No, it's just wild. So I posted up, I don't know, like 2 years ago now, because I got into drifting here in Japan. I went to events in the States. I never had a car. I never drove until I got here, and then I had a track an hour away, and I was like, yeah, I should probably start driving. So
smart man.
I figured, right? It was close, and it's open every day of the week. But so I got online, right? Super rad drifty friends, and I was like, hey guys, how do events work, like in the States? Just like bare knowledge, because here hot lapping is everywhere, right? Most events hot lap. Grid style is not really a thing unless it's like a competition. Whereas in the States, I think it's kind of the opposite. Most events are grid style, aside from a few where they do hot lapping. And I know VSL, from what I've seen at least, you guys try to incorporate some of that hot lapping as well. Am I right?
100%.
It's what basically the responses I got back were kind of mixed, but most were kind of, the insurance is why we do grid style as opposed to hot lapping.
So,
yeah, tell me a little bit about that. What are some of the factors that you have to overcome to get hot lapping, if any? And what do you think the benefit is? I know we kind of already touched on that.
There's no limit to the benefits. The big thing to keep in mind is it really kind of depends on the facility in itself. Now, depending on the design of the facility kind of changes how the insurance looks at how things are to be handled. They look at total cubic miles per hour, total chance of impact, how that impact will play a role into the spectators. There's a lot of things they come and look at because they actually come out and physically look at your facility. And so what they want to know, and then the biggest thing is you can pay for more insurance, like a higher insurance umbrella, a larger umbrella, and that will allow you to get away with more. And so because I have expendable income now, please do not misunderstand that as I have a Tesla or I live in a nice house, I live in a shack. But because I have a little bit of expendable income and I choose to spend it here, we get to get away with more. And so essentially we pay a much larger insurance premium to other people compared to other facilities. And in exchange, we get to have hot lapping, we get to have night driving, we get to have a lot of things that a lot of other places are missing. And part of that was, remember how I told you Jason and I have been traveling since day one?
Yeah.
We'd been to so many different facilities. We had seen the way many different places ran stuff, and we just took our favorite part from each one.
Okay.
And so if you ever get the chance to, and like it's hard to take some of our drivers' feedback seriously because some of them have never driven anywhere else, and so you can't really take that. But if you find an experienced driver who's been driving many places for many years, and you ask them, how do you think about the facility? And they usually, I say most of the time, come back with a pretty rave review, which is great. And people go, how in the world are these guys who've never really hosted events before able to put on an event that you guys are having so much fun at? And the reality was, you have to make some decisions ahead of time on what it is you're going to build, how it's going to run, what it's going to do for people, and how are they going to enjoy it. And part of our experience, and this sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, I'm not trying to do that. Part of our past experience of traveling made us aware of other ways to do things, which in turn made us aware of other ways to just have the facility run. And so part of that was we demanded from day one hot lapping, and part of that was the comeback was simply, you're going to pay this much more an event to get that kind of opportunity. And it was something where I wanted that more than I wanted the money.
Do you think there's any negatives of having hot lapping?
Yes. The negatives with hot lapping is you can wind up next to a squid. Now, I don't say this in detriment to squids, because we were all squids at one time. I was a squid at one time. We were all there. The detriment to it is you can wind up with a guy behind you or in front of you that you do not want to be driving with. So you do need to be more aware of the facility when you're in it.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, the way the track is laid out here, it is connected to 3 very large parking lot areas. And so at any point in time, every 2 turns or maybe every 3 turns, you have the option to simply exit stage right and drive right into one of the large parking lots. And that allows for a driver to make the decision. If he is uncomfortable with the people he is around, he can very quickly go, we run for like 29 hours total over the weekend. There is more than enough seat time.
Yeah.
I can just take the exit, go back to the beginning, and wait for the track to kind of clear up, and I'll go back out there. And then, of course, on top of that, we keep a very close eye on who all is driving. And if we see that there is, I think cutoff number is 20. If we see there's 20 or more cars on track and we see a guy who's consistently being inconsistent, we will simply eject him from the track for the next 20 minutes. And sometimes you get guys who get their feelings a little hurt. They go, hey, man, why are you kicking me out? And it's like, we're not kicking you out. We're just asking you to take a break. You're having problems being consistent. And no offense, we're not telling you can't drive anymore. We're just saying it's very busy right now. Go change your tires. Go do something. Because it very much comes and goes in lulls. It will go for 20 minutes of one guy out there, and then it'll go for 20 minutes of 20 people out there, and then it'll go for 20 minutes of 3 guys, and then it'll go for 20 minutes of 20 guys, and then it'll go back to one guy for this whole drive for run groups and all that kind of stuff. People really self-filter very quickly. Mm-hmm. If you're a novice driver and you see amazing driver A, and you go, my God, it'd be so cool to drive with him, right? If he is amazing driver A, he's going to walk away from you, without even trying. You're a novice driver. You're not fast.
Yeah.
Amazing driver A comes up on novice driver and goes, oh, God, he's slowing me down. Exit stage right. Wait 5 minutes until novice driver B has blown up his tires because it's hot lapping, and go, okay, I got a cold one. I got a Powerade or something. I can go back to the track and I'll be fine. And so, like I said, it's one of those things where if you're the type to show up to an event impatient and ready for track time, you won't have as much fun. But if you can show up and go, damn, there's 3 goddamn days. I'm here to see friends. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to socialize a little bit, help a buddy on his car. If you can be a little more patient, I think you'll have a lot more. At least a lot of drivers have a lot better experience. It's the type that show up and expect to get everything right now. Now, I want to go now. Mm-hmm. Then they're the type that don't have as much fun. But if nobody's car ever makes it to the end of the weekend. We have yet to have a single guy still driving by 5 o'clock Sunday. I think our last event we had 128 cars show up, and we closed 2 hours early because nobody had tires. Yeah, I just nobody could, that's 29 hours is a lot of driving.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, so you guys are doing a lot, I think. You guys spend a lot of effort, I think, into perfecting the details. Like you had talked about with the hot lapping, about having somebody take a break, or how you set up media, or even when it comes to, giving spectators shade, little things like that. Do you want to know something?
Yeah, sure. You want to know something? I spent 2.5 weeks planning the exact angle the main straight would be at, so I'd have a nice, pretty picture in the background.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, all the photos look awesome.
When there's grass. When there's no grass, it looks terrible. But yeah, in the springtime, it looks beautiful. It's just summertime and the grass has died, and it's just grass.
Yeah. You can tell, though. I mean, you can tell from just an objective standpoint, there's a lot of attention to detail. And so what's kind of the end goal for you guys, or what's a point where you want to be at with the track?
So currently there are 3 projects I'm working on. The concrete blocks need to go. Those cannot stay long term. We're trying to build a real wall. We're going to sell a few more spots in the spring to raise some money. We need about $35,000 to actually remove the blocks and pour a real concrete wall there. Mm-hmm. Because that needs to be there. Nobody wants to drag the back end of their car down blocks. That's stupid. I want to build a spectator bridge, which is an entirely new set of challenges that we'll probably not get
for them to walk over the track.
Yeah, so if you were to, if you were at the real Mahon, where the Mahon C-Course sign is that goes across the main straight?
Yeah, yep.
Pretty much right about there is where we want to actually build a spectator bridge over the track. There's various multiple reasons. I want to build an elevated bar behind the bleachers. It would just be like a big patio where there'd be a guy checking at the bottom, and then once you go up on the patio, your wristband is cut, and you get to hang out in the bar and look down on the racetrack. There's multiple purposes for that, but that's just an attempt to try and make the place a little more profitable, just so that it helps pay for itself. Because, like I said, I don't mind losing money to keep the place alive, but if I could not lose money and instead actually, at least start to chunk away at the amount I've invested, it'd be cool. There needs to be a few spots repaved. We unfortunately did not pave the entire facility. The entire south section has not been repaved, and that needs to be paved. Again, because, I only had so much money on hand, and so I can only do so much. Now, between you, me, and the Christmas tree, again, I will be debt-free in exactly 3 months. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, my God. I'm so excited. Hopefully. I say that now. I've just jinxed myself with some wood. Oh, there we go. So, there are some changes I'd like to see with regard to the facility itself and how it runs. I want nice rumble strips. What we have now, it does not cut it. That was one of those things where I was there on site when we started, and then I left, and then when I got back, they had managed to completely fuck it all up. So that needs to get fixed. There's lots of little things. I think I will be personally happy with the facility in about 2 years' time. Maybe 3, maybe 2. Really kind of depends on how the next couple of years play out.
Yeah.
But I think, like right now, I would say it's still a very unfinished product. It is functional. It works. And if your standards are not too high, if you're not trying to compare it to, like, very well-established facilities, you'll have a great time. But if you show up trying to compare it to even the real thing, I think you would be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, shoot. I just think having something like that in the States is such an awesome opportunity for people to have.
Well, yeah, and it's so, like, America is a very different culture to the rest of the world. We do things American ways. It's very hard to get Americans to see the world as the world instead of seeing themselves as number one. This is American culture. This is why America's so afraid of China, is because China's up and coming, and they're coming fucking fast, and they're going to win. And Americans hate that. Not because it's bad, they just hate it because they're not the ones in first no more. And the problem is like, being in second place ain't bad. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't understand why people have to always, like, this is why I don't compete. It's because I have no problems with, like, winning means nothing to me. You're still going to wake up tomorrow unhappy with where you made, those choices in life that put you where you didn't want to be or something. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, good for you. You got something you wanted. Now what? But with regard to just the finished facility, and we already talked about that. Sorry. With regard to culture, drifting in America is fundamentally different than anywhere else in the world, and I'm not saying that it's bad. It's American take on drifting. Mm-hmm. It's just different than everywhere else, and from a sustainability standpoint, it's simply from the standpoint of how do we keep drivers driving for longer than 3 years. The American way is not the correct way with regard to sustainability. That's it. It's honestly, it's probably more exciting to watch because of all the smoke and the tires and all that kind of cool shit. But from a not, when I say more exciting to watch, I'm talking about like competitive stuff from like the average pleb viewing experience. The average pleb is not going to be able to watch a Naoki lap and go, that's so cool, or any Mahon lap, or not just, I keep using Naoki as an example, I shouldn't do that. The average pleb isn't going to know why that's exciting, but drifting people know why that's exciting. Yeah. And like I said, you look at the average Mahon car, it's an SR with coilovers, and that's about it. Whereas Americans have this thing where, because we have so much land and we have so much space, it's so much easier for us to go, I'm going to build me a hot rod and I'm going to have fun with it, because that's what we do. We're America. We have so much we can do so much with. And so many young people do not understand that they have untold opportunity here that they would not get in any other fucking country. I'm sorry, but if you live in Japan, owning your own little garage to work on your car, very, very unlikely.
Ludicrous.
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, you have a shop to work on your what?
Yeah.
Like they don't like, and that's the thing. American kids don't understand how awesome they have it.